Sometimes we just sit in our head about like the thought of creating content sometimes. And yeah, me right now, it feels like I've been itching to make content. I've been itching to come back to YouTube with some content, but then almost not feeling like I'm coming back because I never left. But hey, everybody, how are you doing? It's Spencer Lyon here. For those that remember me on my little, my little time off, if you like. I don't know. Let's just jump straight into it. I learned quite a bit just sort of being off the camera for a minute. I guess I'll be totally honest with you with where everything is and like the mindset of things. Probably going to be a bit short and sweet on a video, but right now as you lot know, I'm in like a current phase of like, there's a lot of content being created for value beneficial sort of purposes. And a lot of what I'm doing is trying to not overlap everything that I'm doing. I think that I kind of had to pause YouTube as it felt like even at the best of times I can multitask in my head, but sometimes it just becomes too much. And I think that doing all the content and doing everything at the same time just felt like I was making so much noise, but I couldn't hear the silence like underneath it. And I think that you've kind of got to return back to that still place. So I don't know with what pattern I'm going to upload on YouTube, and I'm not going to create any intention. I'm just going to create. I'm going to create and I'm going to put out, and then I'm going to see what works and see what doesn't. But one of the underlying things that the YouTube is still for is to build your understanding of reselling and give the value in the true scope. So there is something that will be a hard copy. Sorry, my nose is really hurting at the moment. And it's so like pedestrian to moan about, but it feels like I've been stung by a bumblebee on it. And it's been annoying me for ages. There we go. Just needed to get that out. I don't know. I feel like I'm just trying to find the place of where it sits in what I'm doing. Like at the moment, there's just a lot going on, and there's a lot of chaos, and there's a lot of noise. But there's a lot of understood chaos and noise. Like people just think constantly, like if you're doing loads of things, you might not be making sense of them. But I know where the sense is that I'm making, but sometimes you just have to like stop from things you're doing. So with the YouTube, I obviously wanted to do every day. And to be honest with you, that's where I still want to be, posting on YouTube and building that. But things have just took off in different ways. And certain other parts have just sort of given me more of a spotlight sooner than others. And the reality of things is when something starts to work a little bit more than something else, you start to nourish that a little bit more because it's already got that momentum that it's building up with. And that happened with me with TikTok content. And that's what's been happening with the TikTok side of content. Does that mean that I'm putting no focus on YouTube? Not necessarily. I think that the YouTube content realistically has to have an altered value that, in my eyes, is genuine value that it gives out, or perspective that's useful to those that watch it. And I don't know, a lot of people, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. This spot has been giving me absolute jip. I feel like when I come to YouTube, there's always this pressure I put on myself to make content that gives total value. Whether it was a day in the life of seeing how it works or whether it was giving you tips, I always like the idea of giving the value. But I kind of realized that in order to give value out, I have to put value back on myself. And a lot of what I do is giving free tips, giving handouts to advice and all this sort of knowledge. But that sort of like helps everybody else up the ladder whilst not putting the value on me. And since I've kind of been gone, a lot of like where my focus has been is it's been sitting in this abundance mindset rather than lack. Okay, like I like to live in abundance. I like to live in this state of like whatever I have now, there's nothing else that I need. But sometimes, and maybe some conversations with certain business affiliates or certain people, that kind of let you know that like it doesn't mean that you're in lack to want something back for the value that you give out. This isn't me saying as well like pay me for something. This is just to say that a big part of what I'm, I guess, propelling myself for is releasing what I am building up for you guys at the moment, which is a course in a form of like video format or like a book or an audio book. And then at the same time, you can consume that in your own scope, but I can also then make the content that sits around that content. So it's not necessarily giving the content for free that was built, but it's helping me have a bit more of an infrastructure for the outside of it. And it's due to be ready soon. It's just a case of right now, making sure that what I'm actually putting out is the exact value, and realistically sitting with myself for a while, which is what it's been, sitting in my mind for a long time and thinking, when I started this whole journey, what was the information that I wanted to know? What would have been situations and scenarios that would have helped me? A lot of people, and this is something that happened recently, and it's something that continues to happen, and it's like, this is the bit that like is funny to me, is there's just this running before you walk process with everybody. Some people they'll start buying trainers and they'll have a success of it quickly, and then they'll go, I need to get 50 of these. But a lot of what I'm trying to put the value in and instill in with what I'm trying to release is a lot more about the whole ceramic of the industry, and in a way where understanding that will allow you to understand how you position yourself within it, rather than starting and going, fingers crossed, because that is also an approach, but I don't think that's an approach that has longevity now. And the reason why I don't think it is because at the moment you've got like basically a Wembley Stadium trying to go in a sieve and trying to get to the bottom, like through it. If you know what I mean, like, you know, the funnels, like if you put 1 million people on the top of a funnel, everybody's not getting through at the same time. And that's what's happening. Everybody's going, oh my God, this is the area where I need to go. This is what I need to focus on. So what the content that I'm really trying to bring through and try and come out with is something that gives value to the prefix of the before thought, and really will allow you to actually have an advantage on other people in a sense of a perspective. So I'm not going to disclose too much, only because I read something recently, and this is where like a part of me feels a bit conflicted and indecisive with my mind, is it's like, you shouldn't put out to the universe things that you haven't completed before you complete them, because then you're basically feeding some part of the dopamine by telling people, but you're not releasing the endorphins to actually finish what you're doing. And that's not exactly where I am. That's just like a thought that I had around it. I think that at the moment, like, it's really exciting, and I'm excited for all the parts that I'm building for it. And again, sitting there with understanding the value. And the reason why I haven't come to YouTube is almost similar ways, like why that's not out yet as well, is we always get in our head about everything. And the minute you take time away from it, you put too much pressure on the thought process of it. So when I was doing videos every single day, I didn't think, oh no, today's video might be shit. I was thinking, this is what today looks like. And that's why the day in the life really sort of sat well, because whether it was a fun-filled day, a really long, extensive day, or whether there wasn't much going on, it was an authentic take on a day, rather than taking a moment and trying to force authentication through it, like going, right, I must sit down, I must give value. I think that this content is preferred by a lot more people. I know from conversations I have, people like to just sit and listen, or they like to be distracted and listen. And if my voice is something that can be a relaxing tone or a narration to something in the background of whatever you're doing and giving you some food for thought, then that's a beautiful thing. And like, I'm happy to be a part of that, be a part of your journey and understanding more about what it is that I'm talking about, or just being more a part in your journey of figuring out what it is you want to do. In terms of this stuff, like, the biggest point of like where I'm at so far is like the clothing side, and the reselling is a big part of me. And it's not the antithesis, but it's like pretty much like one of the biggest central points around who I am and who I've been for the longest time. And there is this, I'm ready to be the butterfly from the caterpillar of that. And I guess the sort of release of content and the release of that is where I'm really trying to be, really where I'm trying to position myself. I didn't really have a plan or a scope in mind for this video, and I didn't really have a centralizing conversation of where I wanted to start this off and start a run with. I just knew that it's time to sit down, stop questioning the thought, stop questioning what will this look like, stop questioning if there's anything to actually say, and just say and just speak and see what conversations, see what sentences actually become together. So where I'm at right now is sort of juggling and balancing probably a lot of plates. And that was one of the reasons why this had to be a reduced thing, is because just the balancing of so many things at the same time is a skill that you learn from balancing things constantly. But sometimes that element of balancing can sort of have that knock-on effect to your own personal state and life. Like there's sometimes where I'll feel like, you know, I don't know where I am. I don't know whether I'm here or there or anywhere, because it's just so much, like there's so much going on. And it's like, it's almost like being in a whisk for like every half an hour, just going, when we're going to turn out now, when we're going to turn out now. And I guess like removing like other parts in order to control other parts was like a way of like being still. And it's kind of funny even thinking about that. Like YouTube is the thing I want to do, so I stopped that. And I kind of look in my internal state and be like, why is it that I would stop the one thing that I actually want to do? And I think that's because it's the thing I actually want to do. You can do things without purpose a lot more easily than you can do things with purpose, especially when it's something like this, that you put value in people's time that watch this. I appreciate YouTube from a perspective of someone who consumes YouTube more than anything. And as a genuine home and habitat of like where I would like my content and myself to actually exist for the long run. And you know, I know that the reality of it is I'm going to have to remove certain things in order to build other things again, or other ways that I move forward are going to be taking on staff to allow and alleviate other things. But right now, that just doesn't all matter. For me, what matters is getting something out, a physical product, a physical thing that I can give you that's really just a well-packaged and understood look into what you really need to do in order to start this sort of journey, or even if you have started, what you should consider. I think that what I'm hoping to release is going to be something that people that are starting out will have benefit from it to understand it. But those that have been doing it for a couple of years will be able to return to this and go from the beginning and approach this. And they would almost be able to look at what this is, considering what they've done. Like I say, coming to YouTube to talk about the stuff that I'm writing feels very hard, because you're about to charge for a product or a premium service, and this is something that's free. And there's no problem with that at all. That's like the reality and nature of things. You need to give value to people so they know that you have the value, and being able to charge for it. I'm fortunate enough that I think at this point, 220 videos down on here, years of experience, all that sort of stuff. That is what it is, and that will be what it be. But I guess this video is like my way of like coming back and saying the overthinking I had for making YouTube content is probably the same way that I'm currently overthinking the question and the problem that I'm actually trying to solve with what I'm writing and what I'm doing. And this isn't me saying, what should I do? I don't actually think that you should ever ask people what you should do. I think you should always try and find the answer within yourself. I think that other people will give you a perspective of what they would do, but you know, as we all know, you shouldn't judge anybody or have a perspective on anybody else, because you don't live what they live. And I think at the moment, I'm just in the middle of figuring out how this is going to look, figuring out how it's going to finish. And yeah, just most importantly, being happy with what it is that comes out. As somebody who sort of sits very much on this, being authentic, being true to who I am, being as real as possible, it has to sit and be aligned with that. But I'm not somebody, and again, this is the thing that I wanted to talk about, probably quite briefly, not too much. It's about the short set mindset towards like fast tracking yourself. You know, somebody might start, like I've been selling for years, right? Individually retailing, million of products, blah, 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 you know, or, you know, the normal stuff right now. And it's not like, I'm not trying to over romanticize. I'm just trying to get to the point. And I've done wholesaling out of a means of where the progression has gone. But then I see some people doing that within like a month of selling. I see other people start to buy lots of other things. And again, this is from an outside perspective. You guys and anybody else could do whatever they want. But that same process of like fast tracking where you're trying to go, I'm trying to reverse engineer that and help people to understand the importance of slowing down your approach to slow fashion. And like slow fashion, slow approach to slow fashion, like make this make sense over a longer period of time. Calm the breathing, calm the focus, figure out what it is you're trying to do. And that's what the subject matter, that's what the physical product is. And that is with the intention to do. I have a scope for anybody curious. I think by about September is when it's going to be ready, and that's when I'm hoping for it to be done. But I realized that we're in August and I've got a lot of work to do. And I guess at the moment where everything's been is there's been a heavier focus on live streams. We took on different situations and challenges with the suppliers. And when I say challenges, I just mean a lot of stock coming through, which is a good problem to have. I never turn down too much stock. I always try and figure out ways to sell it. And that's just been the way at the moment, just figuring out all the avenues of how we're distributing our stuff so that can be very, very simple in the background, and it can allow me to kind of figure out this thing and complete it. You know, kind of like putting a mind to a process like this, you need to be in, like, for me, someone like me, personally, I find that the longer I sit with myself and the longer I really understand with myself, like, I'm somebody who really is closed off from all distractions. Like, I'm not here to like have small talk and things like that at points where like it makes a difference to like put some time and respect into what you're doing. But yeah, I knew this video was going to come across probably a little bit like not a whinge, just like a sort of, I guess just like an honest reflection of like how I felt, and guess coming back into content like this. I've spent a long time now, and it's been a continued thing, like talking to the camera and doing all this sort of stuff, whether it's live streaming, TikToks, Instagram, and YouTube. And you know, they're all like micro different variations of the same, which is different perspectives and personalities of me, I guess you could say. But I'm just coming back to say, I'm coming back to say I'm still here. We're still doing what we do, and I just want you to know, you guys to know that I'm in the background working as much as I physically can, as much as I realistically can, with a health perspective in mind as well, to get something for you guys that will really benefit you and your journey. And then from that, we can just keep taking it different plays. So is there any scope for another video? I think so. I think I will just wait until the moment arises where there's something that's worth discussing. Because the thing that I kind of had a few conversations with people is the day in the life content started to get to a point where like I was documenting the day in the life, but I wasn't actually running the business as meticulously as I could in order to do that to its best beneficial, if you know what I mean. Like, in order to do good business things, you sometimes need to just be in the business mind and not, you know, documenting the whole process whilst you're trying to do it is like, it's a bit silly unless you've got someone else that's filming it for you. Otherwise, you're just doing so much. But yeah, again, this isn't in any way, shape or form like a form of content that's here to say, here, I'm coming for a moan. You know, we don't do moaning. I think this is just my moment of going, let me just capture this in this moment in its purest form, because you guys know I don't really like filter anything, and this is just how I feel and where I'm at. But guys, stay safe, stay sustainable, keep doing you. I really hope that I still have the conversation from me and my friend Rowan. And she's coming in now, which I'm actually finishing the video anyway, so it's all good. That's Marge in the background. But yeah, guys, stick about. Appreciate all of you that watch the YouTube, all of you that are curious by this journey on the reselling physical stuff that's coming out. Let me know down below all about that, and I'll be happy to tell you more information on anything to do with that, except from the actual subject matter of it, which is helping you make some sales and stuff. But yeah, lots of love, guys. Stay safe, stay steady. We'll keep doing you, and I'll catch you in a bit. Almost forgot it then.